I read a lot, and I just have to ask my family, and they can tell you. If you can't find Nina, she's probably reading. So I brought some of the books that inspired me. The first one is called A Brief History of the Dead. It's by Kevin Brockmeyer. It's based on an African idea of the afterlife, that the recently departed, whose time on earth overlapped with people still here, are the Sasha, the living dead, because there are people still alive who can remember them and know what they were like when they were alive. So they're still in between, I guess you'd say. They are not wholly dead, for they still live in the memories of the living, who can call them to mind, create their likeness in art, and bring them to life in anecdote. When the last person to know that an ancestor dies, the ancestor leaves the Sasha for the Zamani, the dead. So there's the city, and it's where the recent dead go, and these people live there until nobody left alive on earth can remember them. And I just thought it was a really interesting idea that the living are just as important to the dead as the dead are to the living. And we depend, well, they more depend on us, but we also depend on them to remember them. And there is a lot of things in here about how it's actually about the apocalypse, so it eventually comes down to there's one living person on earth. And the really interesting idea is that one living person can fill the entire city. There are thousands and thousands of people in the city who this one person can remember. And it has a lot of flashbacks about how these people fit into her memory. And most of the things that she remembers are not about her parents or her lovers or her boss or whatever. It's about these people that she saw once. And they made some kind of connection to her that she remembers very profoundly. And they stayed with her, but she never saw them ever again. And a lot of times, they don't even know who she is. And they don't even realize that they made any kind of connection to her. So I thought that was interesting about kind of the butterfly effect. That one little action can result in such a big thing, which is why I try to smile at random strangers and hold the door for people, because sometimes little things can mean a lot, even if it's just taking 2 seconds of your life to wave at a stranger, say hello, or help someone who's fallen down. You might not remember it later, but that person can remember it for the rest of their life. And also, on a slightly less serious note, I brought The Lightning Thief. It's about this kid named Percy Jackson, and he finds out that he is the son of Poseidon, the Greek god. And what I found interesting is that the Greek gods are present in the current day, and all the legends are still here because the monsters are part of the human consciousness, and so are the heroes. And the heroes are able to do these amazing things not because they're part God, but because they're part human. And that's what's really important, is their humanity, and that they can bridge the gap between mortals and divinity. And that's what makes them so special. And what I also like about the Greek gods is the idea that they represent every single aspect of the world, whether it be the ocean, or love, or partying, or home, and they're all one piece, all these many pieces of the whole world with these individual faces. And it just reminds you that they are important. These feelings are important. They have gods for everything. They have gods for the hearth and wine and thunder and choices. And this is what makes up everybody's lives. So it's not so much about the gods themselves, but it's about what it says about humanity as a whole and what we consider to be important and what makes us human. Also, regarding existentialism, we recently read a book called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead in my language arts class. And I didn't bring it with me, but it's about the two characters from Hamlet, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who are so irrelevant that they go off and Hamlet doesn't even care that he kills them. And it's just one line at the end of the play that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, and nobody cares. But this play is about turning Hamlet on his head and making these most minor characters the main characters of the play. And they are on stage the whole time. I know this because we actually acted out the play and I was Rosencrantz and never got to leave. But the main message of the play is that they're always looking for someone else to define them and to give them a purpose. And once they get a purpose from the King of Denmark, go take Hamlet to England. And even when they find out that they're taking Hamlet to England so the English king can execute Hamlet, they don't do anything about it, even though it disturbs them. And so the play is about that you have to find your own meaning. And you can't just expect meaning to come along. I mean, a lot of times it seems like life is kind of pointless and things are really random, but you have to accept that and give life a point, because otherwise there's no reason to keep living, and it doesn't matter if you die, because nobody will care, because you never made any kind of impact on anything. I read a lot of comic books. And it's not actually that silly of a medium, but this is from a recent compilation of comics called The Blackest Night. And so I guess I could pass this around later if you want to have a closer look at this. But this is the Flash right here in blue. And he says, life doesn't give us purpose, we give life purpose. So again, there's no point to life unless you give it a point, and you can't expect it to just come along. And so, yeah, you need to find something that you're passionate about and do it. I think that I can find a lot of things that I'm passionate about. I have this book called Something Upstairs. It's by Avi. And this book is about a ghost named Caleb, and he's stuck in a memory. And he keeps dying over and over again, but he doesn't want to. And he keeps trying to get someone to come back and prevent him from dying, but it always ends up with the person he brought back. It always ends up with him dying. And I thought it was really interesting about how profound memory can be, and again, kind kind of like with the brief history of the dead, how memory can end up defining us. And well, the thing is, Caleb's memory keeps repeating itself. And once he's in it, he can't stop himself because it just keeps going to the same end, and he needs someone outside of that memory to come in and change it, because otherwise he'll just keep repeating history over and over and over again, and he can't do anything about it. So memory is a very important thing, and also about not giving up, because it doesn't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure Caleb has tried this several times, like probably with every person who lived in his house. So that's like something like 17 different families, and he still tries every time. He doesn't give up. So I thought that was very admirable.